Like, how bad did the back and forth get with the white writers? Because I assume that they were white writers that were there, and then this was a black cast. How did that become like an like? How did it exist?
It was very different than it is today.
Hmm.
You know, we were the first of a whole black family. So that's one
Hmm.
dynamic right there.
Correct.
So you had to respect, they knew they had to respect some of the things we wanted and that we needed. And so they know their comedy, and these are very wonderful writers. I mean, they've written for everybody in the business before us. So
Right.
you can't knock their writing. And you could see how well they did write because the show
Hmm.
handled itself for 50 years, you know?
Hmm.
So I give them the
Hmm.
credit. But then,
Hmm.
like John said, how long have you been black? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have that and you have that.
Did he say that on set, by the way?
Well, he said that to them.
Oh,
He
wow.
would say that to them because I read that, but I know John
Okay.
said that. But like how long have you been black? Mm. Okay, so we're
Hmm.
dealing with that kind of dynamic. But
Yeah.
being that we're the first one, um, I guess we got a chance to speak better, to break through, you know?
I'm sure it was insightful for them in that experience to kind of like, get that feedback instantly on the spot, like to know, hey, we don't talk like this. This is what it is. We're cool with this. We're not cool with that. Now, you just mentioned John Amos. He would end up getting fired from the show because it appears that he was being very outspoken. How did that, first, can you verify that? And what was your reaction to John getting fired, and why did he get fired, from your opinion?
I hate that word fired, but it was like this. John was very opinionated, and he would sound off, and he has a little temper thing. So, being that the show was really written for a mother and her
Mm,
children, they didn't really want a black man in the family. They didn't want anybody, no man in the show. So it was
interesting.
just the mother matriarch, kind of thing, and her children. And Esther said, "No, we have to have a father." She said, "I grew up with a father, and see, I know I grew up with a father. So black men do stay in their homes with their children and their wives."
Mm,
So she wanted to bring that to the world. She wanted to
wow.
bring that to the world because they had the matriarch and the children and the thing and no man for the whole time. I don't think there was a man in any of those shows. So Esther said,
Wow.
"No, we got to have that for my children." And they
Yeah,
definitely gave it to her. So you have to understand they probably, you know, wanted it or didn't want it anyway.
I got you. That makes a lot of sense. Just from the dynamic of the original intention wasn't to have a man there. We bring the guy in, and he's just like adding to the back and forthness. So it probably got to a point where it's like we should just stick to our guns. And in terms of just the representation of the family, the matriarch versus the patriarch, where is your vantage point on that today? Like, do you think it's important that we need men around versus, single mothers holding it down? I come from a single mother household, so I can see that it still can be a healthy environment, but there are limitations, though, I can imagine too.
I think back then, it wasn't that many. It wasn't like it is today, where we have so many different types of families. You know,
Hmm.
and because we have so many different types of the heads of households, it's a little different today than it was then. Back then,
Yeah.
it was either no dad or and that was basically it because the mothers were there.
Right.
Um, but there are families that have the mom and the dad there.
Yeah.
So that was a dynamic. One thing I found that was very interesting with Good Times is that if you look at it from the perspective these days, there were a lot of different types of families in Good Times, right?
Right.
You had the mother with no
Right.
father. You had the mother and father first, mother with no father. Then the mother went kind of off somewhere, and the aunt or a family member was taking care of us, which was
Hmm.
Walona. Okay.
Hmm.
Then Walona adopted a baby. So you got the adoptions in there,
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a lot of different families in there.
You know, we come in different shapes, sizes, and experiences. And in kind of closing with John's exit, how did you find out, and what was your instant reaction?
Okay. I found out when we were doing the table read and
Oh wow.
they said he died. And I'm like, okay, well, where's the part two to this? Where they find
Mm.
him or something. And they said, no, that's me and Ralph. I think Ralph didn't know either. Um, no, John is going to leave the show. He's left the show. So now there's not going to be a dad there. I went, what? So that's how I found out. So my tears on the set when I did the show was real.
Wow. I can imagine. Did you agree with the way they wrote him off? Like, did you think that that was like a clever way? Did you care? Like,
It was a shock. It was a shock. Just like I guess people, die and you don't know. I mean, it's a shock. Um, I don't quite know how he ended up, not being there. I don't know how they fired him, but um, I remember that it was a shock to me.
okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that one-on-one moment with me and Miss BernNadette Stanis. That was really, really dope to be able to catch up with one of our legends. But she talks about way much more in the full interview, which you can watch right now at hypersclub.com. Get you a membership and watch the full interview at hypersclub.com. Go ahead and check it out right now.